r/legal advice. StezireX says, how do I sue asset prevention for slamming me on my head, putting me in a coke hold, then handcuffing me in their office until they find out I paid for everything they said I stole? This all happened at Nordstrom in the mall right as I exited. I have a full video for evidence showing him slam me to the ground, and then they dragged me to the office. Then they gave me my stuff back and set him free to go, refusing to answer any more of my questions. Sternaverno says, call personal injury lawyer. They will do a consultation with you for no charge and likely work on contingency. They may want you to file police report and visit doctor for injuries. It's amazingly lucky you were given a video of the incident. Bricker1492 says, can you provide a bit more detail about the moments immediately preceding the slam? Did it come out of nowhere, or did they verbally accost you and order you to accompany them to the office first? StezireX says, yeah, he said I have to come with him and I refused. Then he grabbed my arm and I tried, explained to him the receipt was in the box, but I left it downstairs. But he squeezed harder and I got mad cause it hurt, so I yanked my arm away and we ending up on the ground. When I tried to get up he picked me up and slammed me. Hudson Splink says, I tried explain to him the receipt was in the box, but I left it downstairs. The receipt for what was in what box? If you were exiting, why was your receipt in a box downstairs? Do you mean you threw it away? How did your encounter with this loss prevention officer begin? What happened before he said you had to come with him? Majestic Nothing 473 says, file a police report, talk to an injury lawyer, and stop posting anything online, nor speak to anyone outside of your lawyer. Every retailer has their own set of policies that they are required to follow when it comes to theft, and oftentimes they have to physically see you conceal items in order to justify a stop. If they are trying to apprehend someone, there's other ways of doing it without using violence, and I've seen both ways happen. As an example, one of us got fired after being kicked in the balls because instead of customers backing away, they took the thief's side and began recording. The other team member stepped away once they pulled their phones out to record. Regardless of that though, disengage from this post and tomorrow morning proceed to a lawyer and listen to them. Ordinary Service 5722 says, did you file a police report for assault? r/legal advice. Redwood Velvet says, I told boss repeatedly my insurance deductions weren't going through, and he assured me I wouldn't owe it back. Now he's telling me I owe thousands and I barely will bring home pay for full-time employment. I'm so frustrated. I over and over again told my employer that my deductions weren't going through. He knows he is behind, and it is in his error, and now I owe a large sum of money and am essentially being forced to work for minimum wage for the foreseeable future to make up for this. I'm so distressed. I have been in less than ideal financial circumstances recently and haven't been able to save as much as I'd like. I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. I understand legally I'm liable for the money, but I'm annoyed I spent 3 months begging him to adjust this to avoid exactly this, and that he assured me it'd be covered, just to change his mind now. I work for a small non-profit. We do not have hours. It is just me, the executive director, the board, and one other employee. I live in Oregon and work from home. Duspini says, unfortunately, your boss is correct. You agreed to pay a deduction in return for insurance and did actually receive that insurance, whether you used it or not, so you owe the payroll deductions. Their mistakes in administering payroll don't get you off the hook. The best I can suggest is offering a payment plan to keep the catch-up amount under control and to ensure you have enough income to keep afloat. If they won't entertain that, then your next best option, if you can't afford to catch up on the schedule your employer wants, might be to withdraw your agreement to allow the deductions entirely, which will likely mean ending your employment, to force them to deal with the issue either through you or through the courts. you'll still owe the money. In fact, if you force them to sue you, you might owe more, but it'll slow them down. Dragonfirex says. A few more details. Knowing the deductions were not correct, should have been saving the money. Courts generally do not look fondly on somebody suing after the other party offered a reasonable plan. Even if a judgment is issued by a court, can likely file for a payment plan through the courts. Domestic Plant Lover says. Yeah, that sucks. But you boss is correct. Payroll mistakes are recoverable almost everywhere in the US, even if you don't agree to it. I'm sorry it's not better news. Wild Guy 2 says. It sounds like Ops boss promised them they would cover it, and then reneged on that promise. If this is as described, I don't think the situation is so simple. To me, that's not much different than telling an employee you're giving them a bonus, and then later retroactively saying actually nope sorry. Which is wage theft. Redwood Velvet says. He told me via text message that I wouldn't be paying it back and now changed his mind. Wild Guy 2 says. Important context, how much money are they saying you owe, and how long are you being given by your employer to pay it back? Did your boss ever promise you that he would pay for the items that weren't deducted? Edit, just saw your other post answering this. Milksteak 122 says. Obviously make sure the amount is correct. If it was for health insurance it would have been a pre-tax deduction. So you had more withheld for taxes when it wasn't being deducted. This amount at least should be pre-tax so your withholding will be a lot less for taxes. But as long as the amount is correct, then it is annoying, but that is money that shouldn't be spent if you knew you were getting paid more than you should. You could have parked that money in a HISA and gotten a little interest on it at least while they figured the issue out. r/legal advice. Seymour says. Adopted daughter's biological father is being released from prison 18 years early. Sorry, this is long. Too long. Didn't read. My adopted daughter's biological father, registered sex offender, 3-time felony offender, is being released 18 years early. Due to multiple threats we are worried for her and us. We don't know who to ask help from, or how we can protect her and our family. It's not clear if this falls into the lawyer or police category. We are located in Texas and all of his offenses happened in Texas too. VL, senior, very long, still read, I'm a Sam of 4 kiddos, and we are an average middle class family. This part of my life could be a lifetime movie. My husband and I adopted our daughter 9 female in 2018. She is my biological niece. Long story not short. 10 years ago my then 18Y/O sister was involved with a 30Y/O man. Although he is a registered sex offender, and at the time, had 2 felony offenses, and had served 8 years in prison, there was no underage sexual relationship between my sister and him. The relationship was abusive, and during one incident, he was beating her, while very pregnant, in a parking lot and police were called. He was arrested, and they found meth on him. He posted bail, which he later went on the run for. Then when the baby was born he left the hospital the next day and went to the mall and was caught stealing high-end merchandise and was arrested again. Because he had my sister's car, while arrested she couldn't get her keys out of his possessions unless he was bailed out. My mom bails him out. He is on the run for months, and during that time he attempts to break into our home multiple times and leaves letters and gifts on our front porch. A police report was filed each time. All the while has messaging my sister, has going to kidnap the baby and take her to Mexico, threatening all of our lives, saying he was following me while I was out with my toddler and pregnant with my second child, running errands. We lived in terror of not knowing when he was going to show up. My sister moves in with my husband and me, and we help with baby. She gets a restraining order against him. He is finally found and arrested again, while also incurring resisting arrest. After a while my sister comes to the conclusion that she's not fit to be a mom, needs to deal with her trauma, and asks my husband and I to adopt baby girl who is 15 months at that point. We speak with a family lawyer and begin the adoption process. My sister signs her parental rights away and we began the steps to establish paternity with biological father, since he wasn't on the birth certificate because he was in jail, and so we can terminate his rights. We didn't want him to find any loopholes or contest the adoption later. We do all the work and go through all the steps and legally adopt her. All while has serving his 25-year sentence. He fights us every step of the way and files appeal after appeal to turn over his parental rights termination. Also, this was a private adoption and CPS was not involved. Adoption is finalized and life goes on. Daughter is doing great, she's thriving, but then out of the blue we find out that has being released 18 years early. My sister, whom is doing amazing now, is able to carry over her restraining order. However, since she no longer resides with us, and my daughter is no longer her daughter, she's not covered either, nor is our residence. We've notified her school admin and police officer. His official release date is the 9th of September 24. What do we do? Who do we ask for help? Or do we have to wait for something to happen before we do that? We did everything right but feel like we have no options or a course. I feel like it's important to know that one piece of evidence we used to terminate his rights was a video of him beating his cellmate unprovoked. He's dangerous in many ways and very unpredictable. What rights do we have to protect our daughter and family? Do we find a lawyer? Which kind? Go to the police. Minimum check 1479 says. You can always contact the prison he is at and try and talk with his caseworker. I'm not sure on all the technical things, but I know you can contact the prison and the parole board and talk to them about why you feel he needs to stay in until that date comes. That man ain't free and parole can be revoked at any point. Seymour says. Thanks. We've been doing that every year. My sister took point on it, and he'd been denied parole every year until this year. We are in shock he only served 1/4 of his time. Unknown respondent says. Another comment gives details regarding victims' rights in Texas, and you should definitely reach out to that office to see all your options in this scenario. In Texas, you can petition for a protective order, restraining order, on many grounds. These include physical injury or harm. Arguably your daughter falls into this category as her biological mother was physically abused while she was in the womb, and stalking behavior. This ground will likely cover you, your spouse, and your children. As a petition for a restraining order is a civil action, you only need to prove your claims by a preponderance of the evidence. This is a relatively easy bar to reach. You have the old police reports, or access to them through the police department. There might be screenshots of old threatening messages, and the biological father's past criminal cases, and the evidence used to prove his guilt should be accessible to you. You would include as much evidence as possible in your petition for a protective order. The victim's rights representative might be able to assist in getting your petition drafted and finalized. Note, you will see this man again if you file for a protective order. He has rights to defend himself and will be present during the proceeding. Typically, these dockets have extra armed officers in the courtroom to ensure everyone's safety, but you need to be aware you will have to face this man again before it's. American Pickle says. Now, but if you have social media and have posted pictures of your daughter, be aware he is going to know what you and her currently look like. I'd lock down your profiles and change your current location on them to another state. Install cameras, file for a protective order, and stay somewhere else for the time being if you can. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.